Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are now halfway through the year as another month has come and gone with June 2023. Can you believe it? We're already halfway through this year. It's insane, but June specifically was definitely something we were all looking forward to because this was a big month for movies. Literally, like every weekend, at least one, if not multiple big blockbusters released every weekend at the box office. So it was a big month for theaters. Now, the kind of funny part is that sure, like you had all these big movies and everybody was like, oh my gosh, I want to go watch every single movie and all this stuff. And then like half of them actually ended up underperforming. It's kind of funny, but also sad at the same time. But I did end up making a trip to the theater 4 times this month. 3 of which were for the same exact movie. You could probably guess which one, and of course we'll talk about that. But we are here today to break down everything I watched in the month of June 2023. All the movies, all the series, of course, as always. You can let me know your own watchings down in the comments below. What did you watch in June 2023? And yeah, so let's go ahead and let's jump into this. Of course, starting off with Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Of course, I had to rewatch this film, this cinematic animated masterpiece going into Across the Spider-Verse. You know, I wanted a nice little refresh and also just, I mean, it's a great movie. Like, why would I not want to rewatch it? And of course, as always, it's still amazing. Like, it's still an awesome film. And Across the Spider-Verse just somehow levels it up. Like, it's insane. Like, I love the first Spider-Verse movie, but Across the Spider-Verse is even better. If you haven't already, you can check out both my non-spoiler review and my spoiler review on my other channel, The Marvel Life, where I go really in depth on my thoughts on this, my love for this. This, I think, honestly, is probably the best Spider-Man movie ever made, and I am so incredibly excited to see Beyond the Spider-Verse, whether it does come out next year or more likely, you know, it'll probably be delayed at least 1, if not 2 years to like 2025 or 2026. But again, this movie was just amazing. Like, it's perfect not only as a Miles Morales movie, a multiverse movie, but also just a Spider-Man movie in general. Like, there's something in here for all Spider-Man fans. And just, I love the multiverse lore and like the terminology and the way it all works, like canon events. It's become a meme on TikTok, but it's a great way of thinking about things, like honestly in real life, and it just fits the Spider-Man character and the mythology so perfectly and so well. Of course, you got the cameos in here. There's some great action. It's an amazing film, so amazing that I went to the theaters and watched it 3 different times. I watched the first time with my dad, as I watch all these superhero films with. Then I went to the theaters to watch it with one of my friends, literally just a couple days later. And then very recently, like last week, actually exactly a week ago today, I went and saw it. I was on a field trip, like halfway across the country with one of my teachers, and he hadn't seen it before. So he was like, oh, you want to go to this dine-in movie theater? Sure, let's go watch Spider-Verse again. So I did, and man, just Across the Spider-Verse is phenomenal. I cannot wait to see Beyond the Spider-Verse, and I really hope that this film wins at least a couple Oscars because it definitely deserves it. Now, iCarly Season 3, of course, the reboot of the show, has started out on Paramount Plus. That started at the beginning of the month, so I've been watching it as it goes on. Interestingly, I never actually watched the original iCarly. I feel like maybe I've seen like a couple of the original episodes here and there, but I definitely haven't seen a whole lot of that show. But I've watched all of the reboot, and I've really enjoyed it so far for the most part. Season 3 has been great. I mean, obviously, Creddy is official now, so that's interesting seeing that dynamic and seeing how that actually comes to fruition. I'm really enjoying seeing that. So yeah, iCarly, off to a good start. And then we got High School Musical 3 senior year, because for those who don't know, this was my senior year of high school, and I did graduate from high school at the beginning of this month. So I watched this like a couple days before I graduated, just, you know, really set the tone and really get in the mood and everything. So, you know, I love High School Musical, so great little warm-up for graduation, I guess. Then I watched Dear Evan Hansen. For the first time, I watched this movie for the first time. Everybody hates this movie, and I gotta be honest, it's not great. It is pretty terrible. It's not horrible, but it's bad. I mean, yeah, Ben Platt should not have been Evan Hansen in this movie. Like, I get it. He originated the role on Broadway. That's great and everything. But he doesn't look like a high schooler. And I mean, that's been a thing. Like, it's been like decades. The Hollywood has been casting like 20, 30-year-olds as high school students in movies and TV shows. But with Ben Platt, it's very obvious he is not in high school. It just doesn't work. And that actually adds to the creepy factor of everything that he's doing in this movie. Because honestly, Dear Evan Hansen is a really, it's a tough story to bring across to the screen. Because it's already hard on stage to make you like this character. But there's so many things in the Broadway version of Dear Evan Hansen that really help develop that emotion and that care for Evan that they just completely scrapped and cut out of the movie. And it's really unfortunate because the movie sucks in comparison to the Broadway version, which I haven't even seen the Broadway version. I just read it. But even just reading it, like the script and listening to the original soundtrack, like, it's way better. And this movie is just a disappointment. Now, I feel like people that haven't seen the original musical would probably think of this movie as even worse. But yeah, I do not recommend this. I recommend reading the original Broadway script because it's pretty good. Great musical, terrible movie. Now, Great Expectations, of course, was an FX series on Hulu. This started streaming at the beginning of March. And released like weekly episodes. I fell off of it after like the first 3 or 4 episodes. Just because I was kind of bored with it. Now, if you haven't already, you can check out, I did do a review on, I think, the first 2 episodes, because they released the first 2 episodes together, I believe. So I did a review on that and talk about how in real life, last year, I starred in a play version of Great Expectations, and I was Pip. So Great Expectations is a story that is very near and dear to my heart. And so I was really excited to see it brought to life in this live action series on Hulu. And it just was not it. Like, it was not good. Like, they make so many changes from the original story. Like, characters that are in the original aren't even in here. And then some characters that are very important, very integral to Pip's journey in the original are having like majorly reduced roles in this version. This version is also trying to be super edgy with like swearing and smoking and sex and all that stuff. It's like, you don't need that. It just felt weird and felt very, very forced. Now, like I said, there's a lot of changes. Most of them I'm not happy with. But one thing I am happy with is actually the ending. The ending is very different from the original Great Expectations story, but I actually kind of like this one better because it works better as a full story. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but if you've read the book and if you watch the show, you probably know what I'm talking about. Honestly, I think I prefer this ending compared to the original book, because obviously the book is just, it's Charles Dickens. It's very dark and depressing and just like, oh, great, well, this whole story was basically pointless now, and this guy has like nothing left. But I do enjoy the ending of this series. But I definitely don't plan on ever rewatching it again, because also, like, one of the things I was looking forward to with the show is a 6-episode, hour-long version of this story, which, again, I did it as a play, it was about 3 hours of content. And this I thought would expand more on the story, but no, instead it had a bunch of filler in there that was just really boring and pointless and went nowhere. So yeah. Now, when it came to my birthday, I watched 2 of my favorite movies, one of which being Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. This is my favorite film as a child, my favorite childhood film right here. I loved Scooby-Doo growing up, so this movie is like the best Scooby-Doo movie to me. I mean, obviously I love all the animated stuff and everything, but this movie is just amazing because you bring back all the old monsters. That's awesome. Like I'm a superhero guy, so I, especially growing up, I love the whole like, getting all your action figures together and just like throwing them at each other and just like doing that kind of thing. That's what this is like, but for Scooby-Doo. This is like Avengers Endgame, but for Scooby-Doo. Like, you got the crossover with all the monsters in here, and seeing all of them in live action was just really awesome. And there's just, again, it's just so nostalgic for me, and just another thing that's very near and dear to my heart. So I just love Scooby-Doo too. Monsters Unleashed is amazing. Now, the second movie I watched on my birthday was Superbad. Again, another one of my favorite films. This movie is just hilarious. It is so, so funny. But on top of that, it's so heartwarming as well. Like, it's one of the best movies out there about friendship, about just like, you and your best friend and that relationship and that bond. And it's just so powerful and just so well executed in this film that I love it. I mean, it's just so good. I love this movie. I love these types of movies, and this is probably I would say this is probably my favorite, like, raunchy teen comedy. Like, it's just so funny and so good. I love it so much. Now for Father's Day, I did watch a Goofy movie, just because this is like, it's a classic. It's like the perfect Father's Day movie, really, to be completely honest. Now speaking of teen raunchy movies, I did watch American Pie 2. Of course, if you watched my May video, I did watch the first American Pie in May, and so I watched American Pie 2 in the month of June. Who knows, maybe we'll continue this trend, and maybe in July I'll end up watching American Pie 3, which I believe is American Wedding, which I've not seen before, so I'm really looking forward to that. But American Pie 2 is just as good, if not better, than the first one. I love this franchise. It's so good. I love these characters. Again, so funny, but there's also like so many great life lessons that could be taken away from this. Man, I just love this franchise. It's so good. It's just so funny. I just love American Pie. It's amazing. Now, the other time I did go to the theaters this month was to see The Flash, which, yeah, this is a movie that has been in development for over 10 years now, and now it's finally on screens in theaters and bombing at the box office, and is going to make even less money than Black Adam. And the only superhero movie that made less than this is Morbius, which that's, not hard to beat. But what can I say about the Flash movie? Again, as always, you can check out both my non-spoiler review and my spoiler review on my other channel, The DC Life. But everybody hates this film, for the most part. Personally, I don't hate it. I don't love it either. It's definitely got a lot of bad stuff going on here, particularly the CGI. Like, the worst part of the movie was this cameo sequence at the end. It was disturbing to watch. But honestly, at its core, what this movie is actually about, Barry and his relationship with his mother and his battle with mental health and his, obviously it's the Flashpoint storyline, to go back in time to save his mother and do all that, was really powerful. The whole thing with Barry 1 and Barry 2, I really enjoyed that. The whole twist with Dark Flash, it was great, of course, to get Michael Keaton back as Batman. Sasha Calle was great as Supergirl. Ezra Miller, not a fan of them as a person, but as an actor, amazing performance as both Barry 1 and 2. So The Flash, again, it's not terrible, not great either, but I still enjoyed it for the most part. Now, another series that came out this month was the Marvel Studios Secret Invasion Disney Plus series. So at this point of recording, there's 2 episodes out right now, and it's pretty good. This is our first MCU Disney Plus series in almost a year, so it's nice to have a little break, but it's also nice to be back as well. This show is obviously very, very different from what Secret Invasion was in the comics. Now, do I wish we got a live-action version of that comic storyline? Yeah, that'd be awesome, but unfortunately that's not the case. Now, that aside, just looking at the series on its own, again, it's off to a good start. I'm enjoying it so far. It's different for the MCU, and I think it's got a strong start. So I'm looking forward to see where this goes in the next couple weeks. Now, probably the highlight of my month when it came to watching TV was The Bear, because my God, this show is more than a show. This show is a phenomenon. Like, it is so good. I watched The Bear season 1 for the first time right before season 2 came out. I binge watched it, loved it. I absolutely thought it was great. But then I watched The Bear season 2, which of course came out the whole season on June 22nd, and it's even better. My God, this show is so good. And also, there's so many celebrity cameos in this season. But the thing is, it's not like some other shows, like The Mandalorian with Jack Black and Lizzo, where like the cameos feel super forced. No, these celebrity cameos fit in so perfectly here. And the other thing I love about this season is, these smaller characters that we were introduced to in season 1 that you didn't really get to know a whole lot about them. You get to know more about them in this season. They get more of a time to develop. You get more time on their story. I really enjoy this, particularly a character like Marcus, where episode 4 is all about him. I love these little solo episodes where he just got this whole episode to himself, and you get to really learn about him and just spend time with this guy. And you get that with a couple different characters throughout the season, and it's really amazing. Like, the character development on this show is so good. And like the intensity with certain times. Like, episode 6 is intense. But then you also have those small, tender moments as well. And the season ended on a cliffhanger, which I'm really excited to see where things go next season, which it hasn't been officially renewed, but I feel like it definitely will be. But of course, guys, if you want my more in-depth thoughts on The Bear Season 2, check out my full non-spoiler review. Oh, no, wait, no. It's half non-spoiler, half spoiler review on the channel. Of course, this channel, The Movie Life, so go check it out. But to end off my month, I watched 2 movies. Again, like I said, I went on a little trip halfway around the country, and we had to drive because our flight was canceled, so that was miserable. 8-hour drive overnight, not fun. I can't sleep unless I'm in a bed, so I ended up watching movies. And one of the movies I watched on the way there was Dazed and Confused. This is my first time watching Dazed and Confused, and man, I love this movie. Again, I love raunchy teen comedies. This is one of those. Not really like super duper raunchy, but like it was still like a really funny film. Man, the soundtrack is amazing. One of the best soundtracks in film that I've seen before. And I love that this is a movie that just gives you a glimpse into the 70s. Like, again, you got the 70s music, you got the 70s clothes, you got the 70s slang, you get to see what high school was like in the 70s, how teenagers acted in the 70s, what they did in their free time. I love seeing that, especially because this isn't your average movie where like you have a plot line or anything like that. Like, there's character development and everything, but there's no like real plot line. It's pretty much just like all these high schoolers in the 70s just kind of hanging out, and you just get a glimpse into what life was like during this time period, and I loved it. And it really gets me excited to see the spiritual sequel, Everybody Wants Some, which is doing the same thing except with the 80s. This came out a couple years ago. I ordered it on Amazon because it's not streaming anywhere. So once this comes in, I'm going to be watching in July. So look forward to this in the everything I watched in July. And to end off the month, the final movie I watched on my way back from Philadelphia was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Man, an 80s classic, and again, another great coming-of-age teen comedy, another great soundtrack film. Again, it's just a classic. Like, how can you not love Ferris Bueller's Day Off? There's so many iconic quotes, like the one, like the quote, if you don't stop and look around every once in a while, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you can miss it. I did a graduation video actually with like a recap of like photos and videos from my senior year, and that was a quote that I put in there at the end, because that's like one of my favorite quotes in all of cinematic history, because it's so real and it's so true. And this movie, it's inspirational. Again, you can learn so many life lessons from it. There's great messages. It's really about just having fun and letting loose. And again, It's just a classic. So that was, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was everything I watched in the month of June 2023. Of course, as I said before, let me know your own watchings in the comments below, and what are you most looking forward to watching in July? Because again, we got some other great movies coming out next month. Barbie, I know I'm excited for that one. So stay tuned, everyone. Of course, subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Go check out the other channels, the Marvel Life, the DC Life, the Star Wars Life. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so keep it up to date on everything goes on in the movie life.